Hi, and welcome to Creating Value from Data by 173 Tech. Who are we? We are the analytics team behind the dating giant Bumble, and over the last 4 years, we've helped over 30 companies in all shapes, sizes, and sectors to accelerate their growth through data. What do we believe in? We believe that at the foundations of all good data strategy are three overlapping concepts, and that's strategy, people, and technology. And one of the questions that our clients always ask us is, how can you create value from their data?
So today we'll run you through basically the four core basic stages of what we see to be the analytics journeys. The first one being basically what we call the work stage, effectively setting up solid foundations for your analytics team and infrastructure. The second one being the run stage, which is effectively leveraging all the work you have done in the first work stage and looking into basically more in-depth analysis and making sure that basically data is widely used across the business. And finally, we'll go into the fly stage, which is effectively leveraging more advanced techniques from your analytics infrastructure, mostly on the predictive modeling and data science side of things. And so starting with the work stage. So how do you get started with data is a question that we get asked quite often through a lot of basically prospects and clients that we work with, especially at more early stages. And at that stage, what is really important is effectively ensuring that basically you first set and agree on the core business questions and priorities that needs to be looked into through the data lens. And so to do that, obviously, that needs to align quite closely with the business strategy, which is effectively starting to lay down the first foundation of what data needs to actually contribute to and help inform in terms of the decision making for the business. The second core area to really basically nail is really thinking about the top level reports that you effectively want to have within your reporting solution. So that will help inform the first basically word that the data needs to cover in order to basically release reporting and dashboards that will be very helpful throughout basically the company and that can help effectively sell the work of the data team very early on. The third point is choosing the right tools and infrastructure. So obviously all clients are different and there are quite a few well-identified providers within the market, but all of them have some slight differences in terms of the products and the tooling that they offer. So just as an example, both GCP and AWS offer hundreds of different products under their different platforms. So picking the right tools for your infrastructure is often quite crucial and can really basically fasten the speed at which you effectively deliver your analytics. And the fourth point, probably the most important one, is ensuring that you get to value quickly. So obviously data is really a support function throughout the company and really needs to make sure that the basically everyone throughout the company takes data-driven decisions. So making sure that you get to value quickly throughout your first infrastructure is extremely important. And so here we have a quick example of what a data stack looks like. So that chart is fairly linear and is really here to help you understand what is the overall flow of an analytics infrastructure when you get started with it. So typically we start obviously from the left with the data sources that you have to ingest. So depending on your business, you might have a different set of data sources, but quite commonly, if you are, let's say, a digital business, you would often have a backend. If you are running marketing, you will most likely use Google Ads, Facebook, Meta, etc. And then you might have other systems such as CRM, maybe customer support. And so really the first point is to identify all the core data sources that you effectively want to start building reporting on and also do analysis on top of. And so that leads you to the extraction stage. And so the extraction is here to effectively transit the raw data to the data warehouse, which will be the first destination. And so you effectively transit all the data that you need for reporting and analysis purposes into a data warehouse in an automated fashion as much as possible. So you have tools such as Fivetran or Stitch or now Airbyte, which is open source, which enable you to completely automate the workflow. Or you can use basically custom basically extractors, which you write yourself, which you then power through a tool. So for example, Cyan, which is our own open source analytics engineering framework. Then your data eventually lands into your warehouse. So typically Snowflake, BigQuery, or Redshift would be the some core ones, unless you are on Azure or part of the Microsoft stack. And then you eventually model the data with either dbt, which is the leading data modeling framework, or Sign, which is again our open source tool. And then once the data is modeled and organized within your warehouse, you eventually get to the reporting phase, which is surfacing all the insights and the core KPIs that you want to the wider group of business users. And you typically do that through the reporting layer, out of which you have, again, a few core providers, Metabase and Looker that we tend to work a lot with. And you also have Tableau and Power BI, maybe more on the commercial side of the market, corporate side of the market. And then once you have all that information, probably the final point is really activating upon the data. And so once you have started to glean some insights, you can actually send back the data you have modeled into the warehouse back to effectively all the third parties that you work with. So let's say, for example, again, if you are using CRM and you want to send some information about your top LTV customers to your CRM tool to send some specific emails to these customers, you can send back that data modeled in the warehouse through basically the activation layer to these third parties. And so here, again, you have automated tools to do that, just as Sensors or High Touch, or you can also write these custom through your own framework. And then a few tips to get started efficiently. So again, as we mentioned, really strategy, do not overlook that part. So it is very important to spend a bit of time to make sure that you know exactly what you want to report on and what basically the business will benefit from having data upon. So setting a bit of time at the beginning of each project when you get started with data is very important to redefine that roadmap. The second aspect is people. So typically we find that the best results are when you combine basically people with a different skill set. So typically you would have an engineer and someone of more of an analyst profile that will work together on basically building up an infrastructure, because you need effectively both sides of the coin. We find that it typically can take between 6 to 12 months between the moment you want to start a data team and you actually get basically to the first infrastructure in place if you want to do that in-house. The main reason being that obviously you need to think of the roles you need, start the recruitment, and the recruitment process in itself can be quite long, considering that obviously analytics talent is quite sought after in the market. And all that time basically together effectively can lead potentially to an opportunity cost, right? Because the quicker you can get started, the quicker you can get value out of your analytics stack. And then, so from tech perspective, so a few things that we strongly believe in. So if you want the best result, we strongly believe that you need a bespoke data pipeline, because this is really the only and best way to get to really basically bespoke insights to your own business. The second point is really to not skip data modeling. So where quite often when we see basically some analytics project falling short, most often the data modeling part or side hasn't been done correctly. So spending some time to make sure the data model is clean and efficient is really important. So basically all your analytics work downstream, so the reporting and the analysis can be done very efficiently. And then the third point is to really automate as much as you can and wherever it is relevant and cost efficiently. And then, so finally, just to close that section, so here is a quick case study with a client that we worked with recently. So they were effectively an app business focusing on basically mental health of their users. And we effectively helped them getting started with analytics, starting a stack from scratch, and then eventually help them to do their first basically analysis on basically user scoring on segmentation. So we effectively, within quite a quick period of around 3 months, we basically got them started with all their first layer basically of the technical infrastructure to basically power modern analytics, and then close basically the project with an in-depth analysis of their basically user base and segmenting that by activity levels in order to help them identify users that would be more likely to convert from a trial into a subscription, but also users that would be more likely to effectively being retained and renew their subscriptions over the long term. Effectively enabling them to then after segment their users and know where to focus basically on which core features and customer segments to make sure that basically users would effectively remain retained over a longer period of time. And then we move on into the next section. Candice will present to you.
Great. Thank you, Robin and Oliver. So once you have a good solid foundation, what can you do to create more value out of this robust data pipeline? What we're looking for, so Robin quickly mentioned already a little bit about in-depth analysis. So from your data, you want to start looking at where are the low-hanging fruits, and then empowering your team with the data solutions you've built, democratizing the data for the wider organization. And finally, you want to make sure the model data is activated, it's being sent to other third-party platforms, so your go-to-market team can really make the most out of these insights. So what is important at this stage? We talked about before, making sure you focus on where the value is. Similarly here, make sure you look into a business area to start with. So this is where you're going to have the most impact. From there on, what you want to do is build the value quickly, iterate, always improve that as you go, and expand into other business areas as you grow your data capability. Relating to the first point, make sure you focus on the biggest area and not the 1% problems. So what do we mean by 1%? These are the problems only impacting a small percentage of your customer base. We couldn't emphasize this enough. You really need to make sure the wider team is being trained on this data solution. The whole purpose of data is not to just have a small percentage of users that's reaping the benefit of it. You want to make sure everyone from all teams are using the best they could to help their day-to-day work. And finally, what Robin mentioned before is activating on the model data you modeled in your first phase. So this is sending the data back into your third-party systems, and every step of the way, make sure you evaluate the impact of your data projects. So some examples of in-depth analysis. On the acquisition side, cost of acquisition is a big topic for all companies out there. So lots of things you can start analyzing from your historical data. For example, what channels are performing better, what types of creatives, what types of copies are working better. So the idea is finding out the campaigns where you could be spending more on, and the campaigns you need to, I guess, can if the incremental value is dropping. Next of all, segmenting your user base. So this is looking at different groups of your customers. Do they exhibit different behavioral patterns? By dynamic, what we mean here is flagging them as soon as they present certain features. So for example, if you know a group of users that's likely to churn, as soon as you have those indicators, flag them. So this becomes a dynamic feature within your data warehouse. Next of all, a key topic, which is user retention. Statistics shows, it is almost 7 times cheaper to retain a customer than to buy a new one. So here, analysis you could do is looking at what features drive higher retention rate, what are your aha moments, did new releases impact the retention of different cohorts of users? So lots you could do here. Last but not least, marketing attribution. So this is relating to the cost of acquisition as well. So especially for brands, if you have a longer conversion journey, it's really good to look at your different touch points of your users going through this conversion and looking at different types of marketing attribution models to see, what makes sense. Is first touch, last touch, a data-driven approach. But first of all, you need to do the analysis to find out what makes sense for your unique business. You want to think about is data democratization. So this is empowering all teams with the value of data. First of all, what we talked about is really about tool adoption and training. If you have a really amazing data solution, but nobody is using it, that's effectively very low return on your investment. So, make sure you host regular training sessions. This could be a group training, one-on-one, but to make sure everyone is using the solution you've built. Data champions. So this is something we find really useful in our previous experiences. This is about finding a key person in different business functions. I bet you in any company, any team, you'll find someone really data savvy, and they really want to know more about how to make use of data, and this could be your champion. Host regular sessions with them. So, if the team, let's say a finance team, you have a finance analyst, that could be your data champion, and any, question within the team, this person will be the go-to person. Make sure he or she is updated on all the latest data projects you're rolling out, and they can spread the word for you. Make sure you build data into your decision-making process. So this could be, a master dashboard you look at every day for your health, the health of the business, or at the end of every release, you have a data checkpoint. Whatever that is, make sure data, you not just talk the talk, but you walk the walk as well with data. With any data wins, make sure they are broadcasted within the company. So data needs some marketing as well, making sure people are aware what value you're bringing. That will, give you more buy-ins throughout the company, and it make it easier to do more high-value data projects down the line. So some tips we have here in terms of helping you grow data's impact. First of all, really make sure you quantify the problems. So you quantify the potential impact, the highest impact, and if you can get there quickly, the better. And make sure build data into your processes and make sure they're embedded into different functions across the company. As you expand to this point, you might want to start thinking about aligning your data team with your core business functions. So here you might want to experiment with a matrix style of organizing data and different product teams, for example. This way, people can work together more efficiently. Make sure you prioritize training and data awareness across the company. When it comes to tech, as you grow, governance and documentation becomes really important. So making sure you know who has the right access to the data, and documenting all the knowledge from the data team and your wider organization. Make sure the top 10% of the data estate is rock solid. So what do we mean by the 10%? Typically, you'll find 90% of your business questions can be answered by 10% of your data. So this data need to make sure they're very well modeled. Data quality is checked to 100% accuracy, and making sure people know how to use it in their daily job efficiently. And last but not least, automate as much as possible. Here we want to share another case study with a client of ours, elopage. So elopage is a B2B2C platform. They provide over 50,000 entrepreneurs with an online platform to create their own digital products for their customers. So after we build the foundation, the data pipeline for elopage, one of the data projects they came to us is about knowing what drives churn and how to predict churn. So as we demonstrated before, always start with analysis. So from looking into their historical data, we find 7 churn signals. What we did at the back of that is flagging the churn propensity automatically as soon as any of the 7 flags triggers. And this flags and the churn predictions are automated into Salesforce using reverse ETL, what Robin talked about before. And once the data land in Salesforce, a ticket is created automatically for the accounts team to talk to the customers. It's more important to prevent people from churning than trying to bring them back once they have decided to leave you. So the next phase of the 3 steps, how do I go further from here? So lots of you might be wondering if we will be talking about AI. So here is where it lands. So predictive modeling. So this will be the next step at taking it further. So what is the most important at this stage? For someone who get really excited about all the latest technologies, maybe ChatGPT or new data science models, I know the urge to find a really good model and try to find a business use case to test it out. But make sure you think about it the opposite way. What is the business strategy? What is the biggest value we talked about before? And let that guide your development efforts. So once you find out what you want to do, what problem you're trying to solve, and trying to find the latest technology to solve that. And as we talked about before, always do an in-depth analysis first. Your business is unique, your customers are unique. Don't use a generic model out there and apply it on your business. Make sure you look through your data, what makes sense, what are the nuances within your business, and at the back of that, build your models. And your model should be built on model data. So this is the important part Robin mentioned before. Make sure your data is centralized, automated, curated, and really transformed based on your business logics. Finally, here, make sure you use a reverse ETL tool and activating those insights created by your predictive models back to your third-party systems. Some examples of predictive analytics. Here, sky is really the limit, but just some ideas to get you started. First of all, the propensity to convert. So once you have a customer landing on your website or registering for your app, you know how you get them to convert. For example, that could be buying something or subscribing to your product. So, and once they have converted to your product or services, what is the probability of them staying engaged or the likelihood of them churning? And relating to that, the lifetime value. So can you predict the value of a customer as soon as they landed on your platform and performing some activities? And then this is relating to the ChatGPT topics many of you have been exposed to in the past few months, natural language processing. So this is text analytics models, which again can sit on top of your own first-party data. So this could be reviews, customer support tickets, complaints, anything that you can find out there that is text data. And here what you want to do is to identify any trending topics. So some of the tips here, again, we couldn't emphasize on this enough, which is the impact to the business. Make sure your data science models is built towards the area that will make the most difference for your business. And make sure you automate this data so it doesn't consume any energy to act at the back of that. So data activation is a really good example. So let's say you have a predicted high LTV cohort of users. Make sure these users are automated somewhere. This could be your CRM system, and you have a strategy there to treat them and personalize at scale, knowing that they will be your really VIP customers down the line. The people you need here as you expand on your predictive analytics capability, you likely will need very senior data analysts and data scientists in your team. And make sure you build real data use cases around the people in the company. So make sure data team is in constant collaboration and discussion with the business users and build around their day-to-day use cases. From a technology point of view, reverse ETL we talked about before. Here you want to create flags, notifications back to your third-party system. So this could be your CRM tool, Salesforce, HubSpot, Klaviyo, or your marketing platforms or Facebook or anywhere you're doing your digital marketing. And make sure your models are trained and reviewed on a regular basis. So you don't just train the model and leave it there, because your customer will be changing, the behaviors will be changing, your product range might be changing. So make sure your models are reviewed periodically. Another case study here from one of our clients, PetLab. So PetLab is a fast-growing supplement brand for pets. They have a subscription model. As any subscription models out there, it's really important to get a long-term view in terms of the return on investment. Subscription business is really lucky in a way that there is a better predictability of the LTV. So here what we've done, based on a range of factors, including what is the first product purchased, the characteristics of the customer, and at that point, we'll be able to predict the LTV of that purchase. So PetLab will no longer be just optimizing towards upper funnel metrics, for example, cost per impressions, cost per clicks, or even cost per first purchase. They're able to optimize towards the long-term ROI of marketing. So we know which campaign brings in the highest quality customers measured by the LTV. So just by applying this model and automating alerts into the marketing team Slack channel, so we ranked all the campaigns by the top long-term ROI and the least. So here the marketing team can optimize the spend very efficiently on a daily basis. Whichever campaign is doing really well, they're able to increase the spend quickly, and vice versa. If there's a campaign that is losing money in the long term, they can it really quickly as well. Just by doing this one thing alone, we manage to save the company $3.5 million a year on ad spend. So just a quick recap on the analytics journey. So first, the working stage is getting the foundations right. Here, you want to define your strategy, automate your core reportings, and look at quick wins. And then going forward, you want to look a bit more in-depth analysis, democratize your data stack across the company, activating the insights into all your third-party systems. And finally, you'll be able to fly with predictive modeling and AI models. So that's all from us. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions, please reach out to us at hello@173tech.com, or you can find us on LinkedIn.